Tanning Leather, a brief presentation on health hazards by Stefan Herman. Thank you for tuning in. Today we'll be discussing the health hazards associated with the tanning industry. To start with, I highly recommend you watch these two videos presented by National Geographic. They can be a bit graphic at times, but they are meant to show you the true horrors associated with the tanning industry. Combined, you will spend less than 5 minutes watching them, but I assure you, they'll change the way you view the leather industry for good. We in America love our toys. Whether it's that new leather car smell or those brand new leather boots, we all simply must have them. But do we know where they come from? What it takes to make them? Indeed, what are the true costs to have that new Fendi bag? The goals of this presentation are to provide our viewer with a better understanding of the industry of tanning. I will seek to provide you with an understanding of the process of tanning, the dangers associated with the tanning process, and lastly, what is being done to protect the workers in the tanning industry, as well as the environment that has been affected by the tanning industry. What is leather tanning? Well, according to Wikipedia, tanning is the process of treating skins and hides of animals to produce leather, which is more durable and less susceptible to decomposition. And now, for a more complex definition, I will turn to the EPA definition. According to the EPA, leather tanning is the process of converting raw hides or skins into leather. Hides and skins have the ability to absorb tannic acid and other chemical substances that prevent them from decaying, make them resistant to wetting and cracking, and keep them supple and durable. The three types of hides and skins most often used in leather manufacture are from cattle, sheep, and pigs. Tanning is essentially the reaction of collagen fibers in the hide with preserving agents such as chromium or alum. The most common tanning agents used in the U.S. are trivalent chromium and vegetable tannins, extracted from specific tree barks. Tanning leather is fairly complicated. As you can see from this flowchart, there are many steps involved where quality of the product can depend on how effectively and how thorough the process was performed. Before any other step can be performed, the animal's skin must be skinned and cured. Skinning is a process by which an animal's skin is removed in a way to prevent damage to the hide. The next step, curing, involves soaking the hides in sodium baths. Curing is used in order to prevent decay of the proteins within the skin that could occur due to bacterial growth prior to the actual tanning process. In addition to the use of sodium baths, curing can also be accomplished by preserving the hides and skins at very low temperatures. Next, the process moves to the pre-tanning phase. First, the hide is soaked in order to remove all the salt that was used in the curing process. Next, a liming or dehairing process is used. During the liming, the hide skins are subjected to a treatment with milk of lime. In addition, sharpening agents such as sodium sulfate might be added to help expedite the process. The purpose of liming is to remove all the hairs and prepare the protein in the hide, collagen, for the tanning process. The next phase in the pre-tanning is the deliming. In this phase, the pH of the collagen is brought down to a lower level so that the enzymes may act upon it. In more modern tanneries, these processes are achieved through the use of chemicals. Yet in some tanneries in developing nations, the more traditional baths of bacteria-rich material, such as feces, are used to achieve this result. Often, with individuals forced to knead and mix the material in these toxic tubs by bare hands. Finally, we come to the last phase of the pre-tanning, pickling. During pickling, the skins are treated in salt baths to drop the pH to a further lower level, in order for the skin to accept the tanning agent. Chemicals such as sulfuric acid are used in the process to prepare for mineral-based tanning methods, such as chromium. Now we come to the actual process of tanning. During the process of tanning, a chemical agent is added to the hide to prepare the skin to become leather. During the process of tanning, the hide is preserved and stretched as to allow it to be used as a material cover, be that as a shoe or a couch. The most popular forms of tanning are vegetal and chrome, with chrome being the more effective and widely used. It also happens to be far more dangerous. What is chrome tanning? Chromium tanning, also known as mineral tanning, was invented in 1858. Chromium sulfate, or chromium-3 as it's commonly known, leaves the hide a pale blue color. Thus, the finished product is often called wet blue. Chromium tanning is preferred to vegetal-based tanning agents due to several factors. The leather is often more versatile and malleable. Chromium also prevents more discoloration to the leather as well as distortion of the hide shape. Finally, more exotic finished colors are possible when using chrome tanning. The reds and blues my wife so adores. What is chromium sulfate? Chromium sulfate is created by dissolving the chemical chromium oxide into sulfuric acid. Chromium sulfate can be irritating to the respiratory tract and has been associated in large doses as a possible carcinogen. OSHA recommends no more than 0.5 milligrams per cubic meter exposure to CR3 over an 8-hour workday. When working around chromium sulfate, OSHA recommends the use of respiratory protection as well as protective gloves and clothing to minimize skin exposures. Finally, the post-tanning process. Once the tanning process is complete, the skins are lubricated, stretched, and prepared as a final product for the market. Often a coloring operation is included in the post-tanning process as the leather is prepared to be applied to a finished product. At this point, the skins can be stretched and dried in the sun or boil dried. It is during this process that the somewhat benign chromium sulfate has the potential to oxidize and convert into far more dangerous chromium-6. NIOSH standards for hexavalent chromium, also known as chromium-6. On this slide, you'll notice that both the NIOSH and OSHA exposure limits are extremely low. Hexavalent chromium is extremely dangerous, and we're about to find out why. A history of hexavalent chromium. As far back as 1973, NIOSH was cautioning exposure to chromium-6. In one study, chromium-6 was found to be the second highest relative risk for developing cancer among 8 carcinogens. The study took into account smokers and removed them as a factor. Exposure has also been associated with contact dermatitis, skin ulcers, irritation and ulceration of the nasal mucus, and perforation of the nasal septum. Reports of kidney damage, liver damage, pulmonary congestion and edema, erosion and discoloration of the teeth, perforated eardrums, and many other issues were found throughout the literature on hexavalent chromium. Lastly, and most terrifying, the lifetime risk of lung cancer death from exposure to hexavalent chromium at the current OSHA permissible exposure limit is estimated to be 255 workers per 1,000, or about 1/5 of the workforce. The U.S. tanning industry. As we can see, tanning is dangerous. Not only is there an unacceptable exposure to extremely hazardous chemicals, the industry is also labor intensive, with high exposures to deceased animals' flesh and the pathogens that it contains. As of 2006, NIOSH estimates that 25,341 workers in the U.S. textile dyeing industry were exposed to CR6. The U.S. still does export 12% of the global market for tan leather, but many manufacturing industries have left the U.S. for cheaper and less stringent developing markets. The process of tanning leather is heavily regulated and thus more expensive than the U.S. Luckily for the U.S. clothing and luxury sales industries, it is not so highly regulated in the developing world, which just so happens to be highly unlucky for the people of those nations. The hell that is Bangladesh. We are lucky in the United States to have regulatory agencies like OSHA, EPA, Department of Health to protect our interests. Despite their lackings or perceived lackings, they do much good. In the developed world, countries like Bangladesh do not have the same laws and agencies to protect their people, and due to these failings, tragedies ensue. A story for you. We have gone over a brief process of tanning and shown that it does have associated hazards. What I've yet to show you is just how devastating this industry is in countries like Bangladesh that often disregard the environmental and health problems associated with the tanning industry. I would like to present you with a story from the October 8th, 2012 article of the Human Rights Watch. Jahaj, 17, has worked in a factory where animal hides are tanned in the Hazaribagh district of Dhaka, Bangladesh, since he was 12. He works a 10-hour day and earns 3,000 taka, or roughly $37 a month. Around 50 other people work in the tannery, including a 7 and an 8-year-old who are employed nailing hides out to dry. Jahaj processes raw hides into the first stage of leather known as wet blue, which exposes him to chromium-3 in vast amounts. The tannery pits are 4-meter square tanks that hold hides and many of the diluted chemicals used to cure them. We get inside, take the hides with our hands, and throw them outside the pit. We wear gloves and boots, but water splashes on our skin and clothes. We don't wear an apron. The water in the pits has acid, which burns when it touches my skin. He suffers from rashes and itches. His father and his 2 brothers, also tannery workers, have similar skin diseases. Asked why he performed such hazardous tasks, he said, "When I'm hungry, acid doesn't matter. I have to eat." A major Dhaka hospital diagnosed Jahaj with asthma. "The fumes from the chemicals where I work are really strong," he said. When Jahaj cannot work because he is ill or injured, he is not paid. A clear violation of Bangladesh labor laws, but laws don't seem to matter in a nation like Bangladesh. Jahaj also has not seen a government labor inspector during his 5 years at the tannery. The problem at hand. Hazaribagh, in the city of Dhaka, within the nation of Bangladesh, has an estimated 150 leather tanneries that employ upwards of 15,000 workers on any given day. As of 2012, Hazaribagh is home to between 90 and 95% of all tanneries in Bangladesh. In addition to employing so many in the city of Dhaka, the tanning industry is also one of the most lucrative trades in the nation of Bangladesh, with estimates from June 2011 to July 2012 that tanneries exported close to $663 million in leather and leather goods. Additionally, these profits have grown over the last decade at a rate of $41 million per year to roughly $1 billion a year. Tanning leather, in fact, has become the second largest exporter of Bangladesh, behind only natural gas. The environmental impact. The liquid that is dumped into the Hazaribagh open gutter system contains vast quantities of parasites. It is thick with lime, hydrogen sulfide, chromium sulfate, sulfuric acid, formic acid, bleach, dyes, oils, and numerous heavy metals that are used in the processing of hides. In 2003, it was estimated that 21,600 cubic meters of hazardous liquid waste was emitted from the tanneries located in Hazaribagh on a daily basis. This is in addition to each day an estimated 75 metric tons of solid waste. The topsoil in Hazaribagh has also been found to be heavily polluted with chromium, with some studies measuring the concentration in a range from 15,000 to 33,500,000 milligrams per square decimeter. Samples from 2 deep wells in Hazaribagh surpassed the limit for chromium in drinking water permitted by Bangladesh environmental regulations, which is 0.5 milligrams per liter. What is the human impact? Well, it's largely unknown. Some have speculated that as many as 90% of tannery workers in Bangladesh died before the age of 50 due to work-related illness, but this cannot be confirmed as no epidemiological studies have been conducted in Hazaribagh. The Bangladesh government has laws and regulatory agencies, however these are either corrupted or completely inept. Child labor laws, international environmental regulations, and worker safety laws are continually ignored. There's a lack of both workplace injury statistics as well as cancer surveillance of both workers and the people of Hazaribagh. Much of the information is anecdotal, with employees reporting to Human Rights Watch that many friends have passed due to either liver or lung cancer. Additionally, workers are not informed about the effects of the harmful chemicals they work with, nor are they instructed on the use of PPE gear. Despite a dearth of reliable data regarding the health impact of the tanning industry in Bangladesh, a study conducted in 2013 found that approximately 25% of the chickens were confirmed to have high levels of hexavalent chromium, or CR6. With those kinds of levels, we can only imagine what the people in the city are going through. Lastly, for all you animal lovers, if this is how they treat their people and their workers, imagine what they do to the poor animals that they're using for skin. Children are often used to prepare leathers for the pre-tanning processes. These children are wading barefoot into a vat of either chemicals or feces-based baths intended to break down the leather. An older tanner shows the scars of years of unsafe tannery work on his feet. Chromium exposure has been known to cause skin ulcers. A child no older than 10 plays among drying leathers. These kinds of leathers have been known to expose people to chromium-6. Do we know what he's going through? Could he be exposed to chromium-6? Is this really worth a leather purse for you? As we can see, Hazaribagh borders the Burigana River, which runs directly into the Bay of Bengal, a major resource for the people of Southeast Asia, which has now been polluted by these tanneries. What can be done? What can we do to help? Well, luckily, there is new research that's showing that there are bacteria that can be used in the reprocessing of chromium-6. Bacteria's IFR-2 and IFR-3 are capable of reducing and or transforming the harmful chromium-6 into less harmful chromium-3. Additionally, international manufacturing agencies such as the Industrial Alliance has come up with an assessment tool in order to prevent unnecessary exposure to tannery workers. The Human Rights Watch also has a long list of demands and recommendations that can be found at this website. They have also sent many letters to the heads of state of Bangladesh. Responses were sent from the officials of Bangladesh with assurances of change. However, the Bangladesh government has a long history of doing nothing and has stated publicly for 20 years their intention to fix these atrocities. They will not act unless forced. Multinational organizations who purchase the raw products from this hell on earth must be boycotted. If we as Americans stop buying all this junk, then maybe we can prevent these poor people from going through this life of hell. It's that, or we can buy more Coco Chanel bags. Finally, we can stop buying leather products altogether. Next time, go with a cloth couch, or even better, pleather. I'd like to thank everyone for taking their time to watch my presentation on tanning leather, and I truly hope next time you want that new leather product, maybe you'll rethink spending all that money on this industry. Thank you.